Bonjour, my beautiful and empowered friends. How are y'all today? So, welcome to It's Me, Susie. Yes, I did change the name. Because I just want to, do everything on here. Like, I want to do my poetry on here. I want to do my cover songs on here. I want to do my flight attendant stuff on here. I want to do my motivational stuff on here because that's me, Susie, right? Why do I need different channels to do that? This is me, all of me, right? And I want to showcase all of that. So, anywho, they used your girl today for Austin turn, which is pretty much like the equivalent of 4 hours because it's 2.5 hours going and then it's 1 hour and 50 coming back. So, meal flight. This was my first meal flight with the new stuff. So, but once I get home, I'm going to go ahead and do that Q&A for you guys. I am in the midst of packing, trying to replace my blinds because I broke just like a little piece off. But, they want to charge you like 40 some odd dollars for the blinds. And I only paid like 15 at Walmart. But, just trying to get my deposit back because I'm going to use that for my down payment on my condo. But yeah, so I will holler at y'all when I get home. So this is why I have to replace the blinds because they will charge me for it. Y'all excuse the mess because I am packing up. And then you see that in the wall there. I have to patch that up. This right here, because those things I have, and when I take them off, they mess it up. So I got this yesterday at Walmart. So we'll see. It says it dries like paint. So. All right, I will be back with the Q&A session. Look at all this stuff. Lord. Bonjour, I'm back. Y'all forgive me. I am actually tired. Them two legs wipe me for real. And it's really funny because a lot of the times, I'm not tired, and then sometimes I am, and I don't know if it's because I started out I was supposed to sit this morning. I don't know if I told y'all that I was actually supposed to sit ready reserve this morning, and once I got to the airport, got to the crew room, they were like, you're going to work a flight to turn to Austin, because I guess what happened, weather's on the East Coast, so New York, Raleigh. And I think it was originally supposed to come from Raleigh to Austin, and they canceled that. So, anywho, all right. So I have my questions in front of me. So, question number 1. Are you a morning or evening person? And I want to say that, when I first started, before I became a flight attendant, I was like, I'm a morning person. But after working in this career, I would say I'm an all-day person. And I say that because as long as I have my 8 hours of sleep, I'm good. It doesn't matter if I have an evening trip or if I have a morning trip. And then the second part of that question, I'm not going to say question number 2, is do you prefer morning or evening trips? And I will say that there are pros and cons to both of them, right? Of course, with a morning trip, the cons are you're starting early, right? You're waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning for a 4:45 a.m. report time, or a 5:15 report time. But A lot of the times you're getting off at 10 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes the morning trips makes for a long day because not only are you getting up early, then you got 4 legs and you're not getting off until late. Like the last trip that I just got off of, well, not the last trip, but a few trips before, maybe 2 trips before, we had an early report time, but we didn't get off until 5. We didn't get to Cleveland until 5. So that's a 10-hour day. That's a 10-hour duty day. So, and then a lot of the times with the nighttime trips, you have, 2 legs because you're starting later, right? So you can't go as late. But also you get delayed, so you get in later. But in the same token, they will push those trips, back, your report time back so that you can, have your minimum rest or what have you. But, so it just really depends. I appreciate both of them. They both have pros. They both have cons. I'm not in, whatever cruise services put me on, whether it's morning or afternoon. Morning or, late reports. That's fine with me. What I do enjoy is if I start late, getting home early. Right? Versus starting early and getting home late, right? So the 4-day stretch. A lot of the times you'll get those late starts, but you get home early. And sometimes you have a late start and you get home late. Sometimes you have an early start and you get, that 4th day you get home late. So what I absolutely enjoy is getting home early. When you start late and get home early. That's what I really like. Question number 2. Would you ever date a pilot or another flight attendant? I'm not going to say no. I wouldn't date within my company because I like my autonomy, right? Then that's not saying that you're always going to take trips, with the person that you date. But my layovers are my layovers. What I really enjoy is somebody being able to fly in, right? Having my partner be able to fly in and come to a layover and we do something, right? When it's a long enough layover. So I would absolutely date a pilot or a flight attendant because they also understand the nature of this business, right? So, versus a regular Joe, who, if I tell him I'm gonna call you once we get to the hotel and then we ended up having a delay and I don't get to the hotel till 1 o'clock, I'm sorry, but you are not the first thing on my mind. Like my first thought is getting out of this uniform, getting showered and getting to bed, right? So a lot of the times the pilots and the flight attendants, they understand, they're a little bit more understanding, right? And because we're so used to being on our own and being by ourselves, I don't know. I really don't know. We just understand more, right? We're just a little bit more understanding versus somebody who's like, well, you said that you were going to call me and you didn't and, whatever. But, yeah, I would, but they would definitely have to work for another company or, if I dated a pilot or a flight attendant, we would definitely have to be in different bases. Question number 3. Is it true that flight attendants and pilots have a lot of sex? I'm going to say that's a myth. Do you have your playboys, your playgirls? Absolutely. You have that in real life, right? But the majority of us, when we are on our layover, like I said, we're not thinking about calling nobody. We're not thinking about FaceTiming nobody. Granted, if you're married, yes, you are going to, and even if you're in a relationship, if it is within, a normal time, get in late, shoot your partner a text. I got in, I'm sleep, but we were delayed, got in late. I'm gonna go to sleep. I'll talk to you in the morning, whatever. Um, but you have your pilots and flight attendants that probably got a hoe in every area code. You know what I'm saying? That probably got a hookup in every area code. I don't know. When I get to the hotel, the last thing I'm thinking about is hooking up with somebody. If I got a long enough layover, I want to go explore the city. Would it be nice to have somebody to go and explore the city with in that city? Absolutely. And then too, a lot of the times, we have minimum rest. There's rarely ever a time where we have like a lot. I mean, yeah, they're few and far in between that we have a 16, 17, 18, 20 hour layover, 30-hour layover. You know what I'm saying? So we're not able to do a lot. And again, the first thing you're thinking about is going to your room and laying it down, because you only have about 11 hours. So you need to get something to eat, you need to get showered, and you need to get into bed to get your 8 hours of sleep, minimum 6, so no, it's not true. Again, you do have the people that constantly look for that on their layovers, and to each its own. But the majority of people I know, they're either in serious relationships or, married, and that's the furthest thing from their mind. A lot of people are, going to places and visiting their family, relatives, friends, and then I haven't been on a layover with someone who has had, oh no, I did. We were in Toronto, and I had a pilot who, his girlfriend, wife, she actually flew with us, both legs, and then, because we had a long enough layover in Montreal, I want to say, and they, she was there for the layover, and they, they went to dinner or whatever. But no, I'm going to say that's a myth. Question number 3, what's the difference between a reserve flight attendant and a line holder? That is a really good question. So I'm going to insert a picture here. This is what a reserve schedule looks like. You can see the RSV, right? And so with a reserve flight attendant, basically you're on call depending on your base. So right now, probably in the Raleigh base, because it is a newer base, all their reserves are being used, right? Because we have so little of them. But whereas, even in New York though, a lot of their reserves get used too. So a reserve flight attendant is basically on call as needed per the company needs, right? So that's if somebody calls off sick. That's if, somebody drops a trip, or, I don't know all the circumstances around being called, but that's basically what a reserve is. Now, there are 2 different types of reserve flight attendants. You could be an airport ready reserve flight attendant, or a home reserve. Home reserve. Now, my company, they rotate back and forth, right? I know that there are a lot of companies that will allow you to be either or. I think American does that, if I'm not mistaken. You can be at home or reserve. Delta does not do that. Mainline Delta, because we are Delta Connection, Mainline Delta, you get a line off the bat when you work for them, when you work for them, but you have to sit 6 days a month on reserve, and you have to sit at the airport. So with my company, you're either home or ready, and you never know, what you're going to be from day to day. For instance, this first 6 days, this is a 6-day stretch. The first day they left me at home, and then they sent me a message yesterday when I was at home on home reserve, said that I was going to be home reserve yesterday and I was going to be ready reserve today. And then once I got to the airport, they was like, well, we're going to use you for a turn. So this probably is the 5th or the 6th time that I have been used while sitting on ready reserve. I am rarely ever used on ready reserve. I usually just sit in that room, okay? If it's an AM reserve stretch, I am going to sleep in the dark room, and I'll get up about 9 or 10 to eat my breakfast, and then I'll sit there and watch my iPad until it's time for me to go. If it's PM, I usually just sit there and watch my iPad. If I get tired, then I'll take a nap, right there in the crew room. But I'm saying maybe 4 or 5, maybe even 6. This might have been my 6th time being used already. I'm using more on home. And with home, you have a 2-hour window for you to get to the airport, and also to call off. So, and typically they give you more than enough notice. I've only had one twice. The first time they called me within the 2 hours. I think it was like 2 hours and 13 minutes. And then the second time they called me with less than 2 hours. But we're gonna let that go. So yeah, they use me more when I'm at home. And a lot of times they give me a heads up on my schedule. You know what I'm saying? So like, if I'm scheduled to be on reserve, a lot of times they'll send me the trip before, and then I'll approve it when it's my contactable time or before my contactable time. I had some on here. Question number 3. Would you recommend being a flight attendant? Absolutely I would. When I drove the school bus, people used to always say, would you recommend being a school bus driver? Absolutely. If you enjoy working with children and if you enjoy driving, right? If you have the patience to deal with every single age of children, I absolutely highly encourage it. It's a great gig, just like being a flight attendant. Like, you get every single vacation off that the kids get off. You know what I'm saying? You get 2 months in the summer. Like, absolutely. I would highly recommend that. I would highly recommend being a flight attendant as well if you don't fear flying. I'm not going to say that you enjoy flying, because working this job, a lot of times you don't want to get on a flight. You want to go home, right? You don't want to be flying nowhere, and I can see why a lot of flight attendants don't use their travel benefits, because the last thing you're thinking about doing is really being on another flight, right? You want to come home, relax, eat, whatever, you don't want to be on another flight, but when it's vacation time, yeah, jump on that flight. So I wouldn't say, if you enjoy flying to become one, or if you love flying, because again, it'll really, you're going to not love it as much. I promise you that. I would say if you have a servant's heart, right? If all you want to do is just serve and take care of people, right? Then I would say absolutely. And, you're okay with change, because there are constant changes in this business. And if you are constantly frustrated by change, this is not the career for you, because you could have, and this is even for line holders. Oops, I forgot to answer the second part of that. Let me finish this and I'll answer the second part of that other one. You could be on a trip, and they already gave you what your schedule is for that day, right? So you got these plans, yada, yada, yada. And up in the air, the pilot calls you and calls out your number and says, crew services said contact them once we land. And your whole day has shifted. This is why it's so important that if you have a layover, don't do anything until you get there. Don't book the tickets until you get there. Sometimes you're going to have to do it, and you might have to eat that cost, right? But a lot of times your schedule changes, and it's beyond your control, right? If you have control issues, this is not the career for you. You got to be able to go with the flow and surrender, So, but yeah, I would absolutely highly recommend it. It's not the greatest pay, but the benefits outweigh that. and I've said this before, I think I make more than enough money. It provides for my living expenses, and I can travel and I can do the things that I want to do. So, I would love to make more money, right? Who wouldn't? I would love to make $35 an hour. Like, I start out at 35, like Delta starts out. I'm saying 38 or whatever. Who would know? Because I think Southwest is the highest paid. But I think American and Delta start out at 35. Absolutely, I would love to start out at 35 versus 25. But I'm also happy with what I'm earning. So yes, the answer to number 3 is yes. I would highly recommend it, and I will leave that link again in the description box. So, what's the difference between a reserve flight attendant and a line holder? All right, so I answered the reserve flight attendant. Here is the schedule of a line holder. Reserves only get off, with my company, reserves only get off 11 days a month. Line holders get off 18 days a month. So as a line holder, you have a lot more flexibility to pick up more trips, right, in your schedule, because you have 18 days off. You could literally pick up another trip and still have the 11 days off. Both are guaranteed their 75 hours a month, but being a line holder allows you more flexibility to pick up additional trips, which will give you more credit hours, which calculates to more money. Also, with a line holder, you can see the difference. They know their trips a month in advance. So that allows you to really plan for your life. With the reserve schedule, it says I'm reserved, but I don't know if I'm home reserved, or I don't know if I'm airport ready reserved, right? I don't know if they're going to put me on a trip. So don't plan for nothing, right? Because, and this is why I say it's a lot harder to date as a reserve flight attendant versus being a line holder, because when you hold a line, you have your schedule, you know when you're going to be home, you know when you're going to be off, you know your days off, you can take a trip, you got 18 days a month. So what I said was, once I hold a line, I want to do 2 months picking up extra trips. So I can get like 100, 125 hours a month. Then that third month, leave my schedule as is, and with that 18 days, take me a nice long trip, 7 days, 10 days. So that's literally a trip every quarter, right? 4 trips a year. I think that's a good, and plus I have made enough money within those 2 months to afford that third month to take a trip. So that is the difference between a reserve flight attendant and a line holder. Now, I'm going to share these questions that I received so I was on a trip in JFK. It was a flight going from JFK to RDU. And I was coming from the restroom, and the lady stopped me and said, are you a flight attendant? I'm considering doing that after I retire. So I gave her my number, I gave her the link, to apply. And then she texted me and said she had a couple questions. And her first question is, do you have the option to choose your schedule? So yes and no. And what I mean by that, you can put in, we bid every single month on this, the 10th of the month, the bid opens, it closes on the 14th, and schedules come out on the 16th of the month. So you can bid for what you desire. It doesn't mean you're going to get it, right? So I keep my bid simple because I don't require a lot. What I really want is my 3 days off, my 3 consecutive days off. I need that for me to replenish my energy. I know myself, so I know what I need. Me working a trip and having 1 day off, 2 days off, I don't function well. I need my 3 days off, because sometimes after getting home from a 4-day trip late, I need that next day to just sleep. Even if I don't sleep all day, I just lay in the bed, watch some Netflix, eat. I do absolutely nothing, right? That second day, I'm usually running errands, I'm doing, my videos, I'm doing administrative stuff on my computer. And that third day, I really try to wash and then just, repack my suitcase to get prepared for my next set of days. So that's really what I did. That is my must have, is my 3 consecutive days off. Now, once I get a line, I think I'm still just gonna do that. I might do like at least 4 days off, since you have more days off. That way it'll allow me to pick up a trip or what have you. Because I do get the 18 days off. But like I really don't care where they send me. Like it doesn't matter. I'm okay with everything. All the hotels. Are there some hotels that I really don't like? Yeah, but I mean, I'm really okay with whatever the trip is, you know. I really don't have a preference of day or night, you know, morning or evening trip. I don't. I need my days off. So that's all that I care about. So I probably will have the same, you know, or load the end of my schedule so that I can have more days off in the beginning, so that I can take a trip or pick up trips, you know. So yeah, to a certain extent, you can choose your schedule, but don't be upset when you don't get it, right? Like I requested my son's birthday off this month. I request 3 consecutive days off, right? This is how cruise services be playing you. I requested 3 days. That's my regular. So what I did was the 30th, the 31st, and the 1st. That's what I requested off, because my son's birthday is the 30th. Why did they give me the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th off? Like, y'all could have took that 8th and gave me the 30th off, which would have still been my 3 days. It's not changing anything, but whatever. So, again, okay, yes, I was a little upset because I didn't get my son's birthday off, but what you gonna do about it, right? What you gonna do about it? And her second question is there any flexibility for home time? So, yes, there is. You sometimes do have home reserve. As a reserve flight attendant, sometimes you will sit at home, but it's not a lot of time in your schedule. Especially because she's in Raleigh, especially being in Raleigh because it's a new base. So if she, you know, puts her application in, puts me as a reference, and gets hired, then she probably will not have a lot of days home. But once you become a line holder, you have 18 days. And also, once you become a line holder, you can bid for minimum hours. You know, minimum hours is for you to keep your benefits. So, and I think it's 40 hours a month, right? Just like we get 75 guaranteed, I think minimum is 40 hours a month. So you can definitely bid once you hold a line. You can bid for minimum hours work from each month and then have more time at home, which will be great for her because she is a retiree. And the last, that might have been all of them. The last and final question. Last and final question. Would you ever consider going to a legacy carrier or becoming a mainline flight attendant? Absolutely, I would. You know, yeah, we just did this Austin term. It is a long haul, but a lot of times when you do those long hauls, that's it, right? But yeah, I do. I want to, you know, go on longer. You know, right now we're regional. We don't do anything over 3 hours. Yeah, I would love to do a 4-hour, a 5-hour, a 6-hour, and even an international. And I would love to stay with the carrier I'm with the brand that I'm with. But I did not. You know, I only got past the assessment. Every time I want to fly a Delta flight attendant, I was like, continue trying. There are people who have 4 and 5, 6 times, and then they finally got it. I would love to stay with the carrier that I'm with, but I also know that
I probably can get in quicker with American. And I love the blue. I love the blue. I love their blouses. So I don't know. You know, I'm 50 years old. My thing is, and I don't harp on age because my spirit is young. I can hang with the best of them. Um, my thing is, do I want to go through another training? Do I want to go through another 4 weeks? Do I want to be, especially once I hold the line? That's going to make it even harder. Now, with Delta, it's different, right? Because I could automatically hold the line with them, but I still have to sit 6 days a month reserve, right? And sometimes, even with my company, they'll put a reserve line in if they don't have enough, you know, trips to cover your credits for the month. But yeah, I would love to work for Mainline. I absolutely would. You know, especially too with the flight benefits, you know, call my sister and be like, I'm about to put you on a flight because I got this 30-hour layover in, you know, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, let's go do some stuff. So, or my son, you know, even like call out word, you know what I'm saying? Put a couple of days, see if you could get a couple of days off because I got a 24-hour layover. You know, like absolutely, I want to do that type of stuff. But yeah, I want to go international. You know, that way I don't have to go international. I can work at international flight. But yes, I would love to go Mainline. I mean, you know, like I said, I'm 50. I know that I need to get in now, right? If I'm going to do this. So I don't know, maybe August, I'll try again. We'll see. But yeah, I would absolutely love to go Mainline. And that concludes my questions for this video. So if you all have any more questions, if you have comments, leave them. My email is in the description box. So if you don't want to leave a comment, you can always email me and I'll do another Q&A once I have enough questions. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit the like, give me a thumbs up, and go ahead and subscribe. And you know, because I really haven't been working that much, so once I have more footage, I will have more videos. But until next time, I will talk to y'all later. Au revoir.